This October 13th meeting of the Camino Real Regional Mobility Authority Board to order at, I believe it is 9:12 a.m. First item on the agenda is a call to order the roll call and public comments. My name is Joe Wardy and I'll be chairing the meeting today.
And I can do the roll call if you don't mind.
No, go right ahead.
Certainly.
Raymond.
Okay, Joe Wardy,
Here.
Sissy Bird,
Here.
Joyce Wilson,
Here.
Jim Smith.
Here.
I believe the remaining members of the board are not present, so we do have a quorum.
Raymond, do we have any public comment today?
No, sir, none today.
Okay, we'll go on to agenda item 2, adoption of minutes for the CRRMA board meeting of September 8th, 2021. We've had a chance to review. We'll entertain a motion to approve.
Jim, I move to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a
Joyce
second.
Wilson.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't believe there's any against. Motion passes. Item number 3, discussion and action on updates by the El Paso Metropolitan Planning Organization on the 2022 Unified Transportation Plan and the Regional Mobility Strategy 2020.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Ms. Bird. My name is Eduardo Calvo. I'm the Executive Director of the El Paso MPO. So I'm here to give you a very brief update on, specifically on the impact of the TxDOT Fiscal Year 22 Unified Transportation Program. As you all know, that's an important document that TxDOT puts out every year, and it really shows or it's a guideline. You know, they insist that it's not a budget, it's not a promise that the funding is there, but it gives us a very, very good idea of what funding is going to look like for the next 10 years. So for us, obviously, well, not only for us, but for every region in the state of Texas, you know, getting your projects in the UTP is a big deal. So I was here a few months ago giving you an update. At the time, the fiscal year 22 UTP was in draft form, and there were some things that were very interesting that required the discussion, you know, for all of us stakeholders here in the region. So I'll talk a little bit about that. And then more importantly, how does that, the UTP, now that it's in final form, how does that impact our transportation program here in El Paso? So, do I use the arrows, Raymond, here? Or? Or the page up or down? They're not working. There. All right. So some of the key changes that were formalized in the fiscal year 22 UTP, starting with the Downtown 10 project or segment 2. Oh, no, it's all right. Segment 2. Which has been identified by the MPO and by many other stakeholders as a #1 priority project for us here in the region. There's been a lot of conversations. We really wanted to get the project identified in the UTP for this round. So the good news is that, yeah, the project made it to the UTP. However, the funding that is shown for it is you know, relatively small. It's only $4 million of Category 4, which again, it's a good thing. Let's look at it positive, right? That at least we can say that the project is in the UTP. When the draft UTP was presented was unveiled, there was a proposal that the TxDOT administration made to us, which was pretty outrageous in the sense that they said, well, instead of $4 million, we'll up our funding up to $62 million, but in exchange, the balance, which is about $688 million, you guys take care of it locally, right? In other words, they were asking us to give up the farm. So it's like, no, we're not going to do that. I mean, this is a $750 million project, right? So obviously, you know, we all responded, and thanks to the RMA, you all, well, the board, I think, authorized Raymond to submit a letter stating the opposition to that pretty well, let's call it that proposal.
Eduardo, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
The $750 million, is that just for the Downtown 10 project?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very expensive project that contemplates the reconstruction of I-10. I mean, from a physical infrastructure perspective, I-10 is falling apart in especially the pavement downtown. And so the idea is also to look into the future to make sure that we have sufficient capacity in that segment of I-10, which is today is a choke point, where we have 4 lanes on one side and 5 lanes on the other side of downtown, and only 3 lanes going through the downtown section, which is already depressed. So the need and purpose for the project includes widening and in addition to the reconstruction, and of course, rebuilding the bridges to increase the vertical clearance, put it up to the modern specifications of federal highway, which is increase it to at least 18.5 feet. So it's a really good project, but because of the nature of the project, the topography and the way that we're right away is very constrained and all that, it's got to be done all at once instead of phasing it and making it easier to find the money. So we've got one of the big challenges is finding $750 million. So having said all that, we're still, now that the project is in the UTP, the good news is that we are starting formal coordination with the TxDOT administration and the Texas Transportation Commission and our goal is to get this project funded in the fiscal year 23 UTP, so that a year from now, we'll be celebrating that the project is funded. We understand that we have to find local funding, in other words, local skin in the game, right? So that means that perhaps we're going to find some projects that are lesser priorities that we can maybe delay for a little bit and move that money towards this project. But all of that has to be done in coordination with the administration, but of course locally we have to make sure that the region is they're all on the same page. So that's that. Another interesting highlight that appears now in the UTP has to do with changes in Category 2. Right, Category 2 is a TxDOT category that is used for major corridor projects. The city of El Paso took out a loan. Actually, well, technically, the RMA took a loan that is going to be paid through the city of El Paso's TRZ number 2, Transportation Reinvestment Zone, and it's a great idea. So that 30 million SIB loan was inserted into a TxDOT project, which is the widening of I-10 on the west side from Mesa to the New Mexico state line, to go from 2 lanes to 3 lanes in each direction. So that 30 million was put into that project so that we could pull out 30 million of Category 2 and use it for other projects. So that's a great example of the city putting in, what we consider also local skin in the game, and we can, of course, show that to TxDOT and the administration for that. So out of the 30 million, a piece of that is going to be used for a new project, which is to build a frontage road between Mesa Park and Sunland Park Drive. That's about 18 million. So that was a project that the city identified that they really wanted to do that, and of course, in the coordination and making sure that we get the priority projects for everybody in there. The other main change also was on the Borderland Expressway, or the Northeast Parkway, as it's been called for many years. The TxDOT was able to split the project into 3 phases, right? So this project really lends itself to build it into phases. And the phase 1, which is about a $20 million project, compared to 293 or something like that, which is for the whole thing, right? So by peeling off phase 1, and it's only 20 million, we were able to find the funding for that, and it's strategically, that's a really, really good thing, because by funding phase 1, and it's, again, this is part of the procedural complexities, by funding phase 1, we're able to put that project into the MPO's document, one of the documents, the TIP, the Transportation Improvement Program, which is a requirement to clear the environmental document for the whole thing, right? So we fund phase one with a relatively, with a smaller dollar amount, and that helps us to clear the environmental document for the whole thing. So now the project really becomes more shovel ready than before, right? So that's a major milestone. So in a nutshell, those are the main changes that are now formalized in the fiscal year 22 UTP, now that the project has been, well, not the project, but the UTP has been adopted by the commission. Very briefly, I'll go through the RMS 2020. The first document that you see there, and by the way, the map and the table that has very small numbers, you have that in 11 by 17. This is a map that shows all the projects that are included in the RMS 2020 strategic plan. And we always provide a status report to the policy board. This is a table that, again, you can't see it from the screen, but if you can take a look at it on the backup. The cells that are shown there in orange are the ones that have changed recently. So there again, you see how the money was moved around for the $30 million SIB loan with Category 2. And also very importantly that some projects are now being moved to fiscal year 2023, you see in the bottom. One project by Horizon City, one by the county, John Hayes, and yeah, the North Darrington, that's also part of the Horizon City project. The good news that you also see in this table is that all the projects that were scheduled to go to construction in fiscal year 21 actually made it. So that's a good news. So of course now we all are working really hard to get the next set of projects ready for construction. This is another map that really shows the 4 top priority projects. I really like this map. So you see the 4 projects there in blue, but you see the projects that are sort of like distributed throughout the region, but you see the impact that these projects have when you look at the ports of entry in our region, and when you see also some of the big, well, 2 new important developments, the new Amazon facility out there in the intersection of I-10 and East Lake on the east side of our region, and also the new TJX distribution center also that's going to be built there close to the airport properties on Global Reach and George Perry. So again, what we like to show in this map is that the major developments and all the stuff that crosses from Juarez, everything gravitates towards I-10. Right, so I-10 is a backbone still of our transportation network here in the region, and projects that either directly improve I-10 are important, but are also the ones that provide some relief to I-10, like Borderland Expressway, right, considered a bypass, or what Border Highway West or Border West Expressway did, or is doing now that it's open to traffic. It's providing a real relief to I-10.
I have a question on that map.
Yes.
Out of these top 4 priority projects, what order are they a priority?
Well, that's a good point. The top priority in terms of need and importance for us has been identified as segment 2 for I-10. However, because of the where the project is in development activities, because of the size or the amount of funding that we need, it may not necessarily come first, right? For example, the project that you see on the west side, which is 178, which is Aircraft Boulevard, that project has been already funded. So that's a great thing. Out of the 4 top priority projects, one of them got funded. Some people argue that may not be the top priority and question why it was funded. Well, at the time, the commission awarded funding for that project, so I'm not complaining.
They just need to drive over there.
Exactly right. And strategically, yeah, Aircraft is the gateway to New Mexico, and it connects very importantly to the UP intermodal facility, and a very important connection to the Santa Teresa port of entry as well. it's New Mexico, but again, you know, we see it as, I mean, that port of entry is part of our system. And in the last few years, you know, we've seen the increase in traffic through Santa Teresa because of other things that are happening. So it's part of our system. So, so to answer your question, yeah, segment 2 is the top priority, but you know, we're trying to get it funded. And again, you know, with Borderland Expressway, which is also one of the top priority projects, you know, we're trying our best to advance it and have it shovel ready, which is tremendously important for the things that I want to talk about now in terms of the next steps. So like I said before, we're targeting the fiscal year 23 UTP to advance our projects, not only segment 2, but anything else that we can get, right? But some important variables that are in play right now. At the federal level, as you all know, we've got the infrastructure bill that is, it's not official yet, but you know, it's closer to, well, whatever that means. But we still don't have a bill, but we are very hopeful that more money will trickle down to us here. And also the second part, the companion, the Build Back Better, in whatever shape it ends up being, that there may be other funds that may trickle our way to help us with our project. So those are variables right now. We still don't know exactly what's going to happen with that. At the state level, the two big funding sources, which are Propositions 1 and 7, looking at the forecast, you know, we're waiting for at least I haven't seen the projections coming from the state comptroller's office to see if there's more money coming in. Last year, the projections were not very good because of course, the impact of COVID that it had on the economy and specifically on the oil and gas industry. But for this year, I'm hoping to see some good news. And also the Texas Mobility Fund, which is another fund that is separate from the traditional gas tax revenues. The legislature provided Texas the authority to issue more bonds to be paid from the sources that are involved in the Texas Mobility Fund. All that to say that there may be more money also from state sources as well. And of course, you know, the local contributions that we need to make, whether it's in part of the formula money that we receive as a region and in selecting projects that we may want to push, you know, part of the route, but also look at other additional sources, you know, like the transportation reinvestment zones with not just from the city of El Paso, but the city of Socorro also has one TRZ that is active, and they're looking at implementing a second one. And of course, that's local funding for projects. Horizon City also has their TRZ, and so we're looking at also ways of raising local money that, again, we can show that we are doing our share of providing funding and leverage, using that to leverage other state and federal funds. So with that, that's my update. There's my contact information, but Raymond knows how to get a hold of me. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
I do have a question, Eduardo. This is Joe Wardy.
Absolutely.
You talked about the Borderland Expressway and being cut into 3 pieces, right? You've identified on your map what section 1 or what
Phase 1.
phase 1 is. Would you share? Can you share something with Raymond for distribution to the board on what phase 2 looks like and what phase 3 looks like? I know it's not etched in concrete, but just so that we know exactly what we're looking at.
Absolutely. I can tell you very quickly that phase 1 is to build the frontage roads between Railroad Drive and Dyer.
Okay.
Right? So just the frontage roads, right? And then phase 2 would be building one piece of the main lanes, right? And then phase 3 would be the other piece, right? That way now you connect to the New Mexico state line, and the other piece, or the other limit, is with Loop 375. So roughly, phase 1 are the frontage roads in between Dyer and Railroad, and then phase 2 and phase 3 would split the construction of the main lanes.
Yeah, it's very interesting because New Mexico's already under construction
Exactly.
at their bridge to
Exactly
connect all
right.
that.
Well, not just the bridge on I-10, which is, you know, a piece of the project that is being built, but they also have the funding to improve New Mexico 404 from I-10 to, to the connection with 213. And they're already working also on the other piece, which is from that connection down to the state line, to make it all a four-lane divided. In other words, their piece of the Borderland Expressway is is moving forward pretty quickly.
Okay.
So they're happy to let the Texas folks that they're ahead.
This is Jim. This is Jim. I have a comment. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I attended virtually the public meeting of New Mexico DOT for the 213 portion. And they have incorporated and are going in the design for the interchange at the roundabout at 213 and 404. And so that they can have that in design and an actual target number that they can go for the funding for that interchange. But it's a flyover of the roundabout that makes that a non-stop all the way from actually I-10 at the beginning of 375 in El Paso, all the way to I-10 and 404. Makes it a non-stop freeway. So New Mexico is going ahead very rapidly, and they've got some really neat plans done. So I thought that was very interesting. And the other thing is a question to you, Eduardo. Okay, now that we have the $4 million for segment 2 and the UTP, does that cut them loose to be able to start the design and the environmental and everything for that segment 2? And at the same time, does that UTP 20 million for the Borderland Expressway open the gate for completing the environmental and the design on the Borderland Expressway?
Right. Okay, so first the question on segment 2, which is called Downtown 10. Yes, it's good always to find or to show construction money in the UTP. However, for project development, it's more important, and this is again part of the internal TxDOT process. It's important to have the authority to develop the project, right? And even without any construction money, the El Paso district of TxDOT has the authority to continue with the project development, to complete the environmental and all that. To move into the final phase of a final design, then yes, you need to have construction or construct authority, what they call, and that's, you need to show money that for construction, partial or complete funding for the project. So the answer, Jim, is that the district, even without having any funding for construction identified, they can continue with the process.
Okay.
So the second question about the Borderland Expressway, yeah, I mean, the district has the authority to continue working on it to clear the environmental, but what was missing was that being able to show some funding for construction in the TIP, in the Transportation Improvement Program of the MPO, because that's a requirement to clear the environmental document. The good thing of clearing the environmental document is that that's a major milestone, and it gets the project closer to being shovel ready, right? So going back to the funding opportunities, well, I'm hoping, I don't know how much money additional money will trickle down to us, but if there's a substantial amount, they're going to be looking at projects that are readier to start construction. So if the Borderland Expressway has the environmental document cleared, we're already working on phase 1, that project looks really good, and it becomes a very solid candidate for funding.
And that's like for the infrastructure bill funding and and other funding that may fall from manna from heaven. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Any other questions for Eduardo or comments?
No, good presentation, thank you. Glad to see these projects are moving.
Thank you very
All
much,
right.
Eduardo.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eduardo.
Raymond, is there any action needs to be taken?
No, sir. This is just a report.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to item 4, which is discussion and action on a board resolution authorizing the execution of an amendment to work authorization number 2 with Hewitt Zollers for additional borings on the Valley Chili Road project. Raymond?
Thank you. Raymond Tejas, Executive Director of the Camino Real Regional Mobility Authority. As read into the record, this item deals with an amendment to the Hewitt Zollers work authorization as it relates to the Valley Chili Road project. So as a reminder, the Valley Chili Road project is a project that is part of the RMS 2020 program. It's the reconstruction of the roadway that connects I-10 down to Donovan near the Great American. And this particular project, or this particular amendment then looks to add some additional funds to the design team for some boring work. They're looking for potential ponding sites, so they need some additional funds, and that's what this is. So what you see there before you is a request for approval to execute work authorization number 2 with Hewitt Zollers. So subject to your questions, I would recommend approval.
Are there any questions from the board?
Yes, I have a question. As far as it says a week to do after receiving right away from the property owner, has that been done already?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Are there any other questions? If
This is
not,
Jim. I move to approve.
I second it. Sissy Bird.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Motion passes. We'll move on to item number 5, discussion and action on board resolutions authorizing the execution of the following instruments as they relate to right-of-way acquisitions for the John Hayes project. Item A is the interlocal agreement with El Paso County, and item B, work authorization number 37.1 with Atkins North America.
Okay, as read into the record, this is actually 2 action items that we're looking for today for this particular item as it relates to John Hayes. The first is an interlocal, is included as part of your backup. You see the draft interlocal. In effect, what we're doing is, well, actually, let me take it back a step. As you will recall, the RMA is already partnering with the County of El Paso on the John Hayes project. We are designing that particular project as we speak. The county has more recently asked for assistance in the right-of-way acquisition of 11 separate parcels along the stretch of this proposed roadway. So they've asked us if the RMA could participate in the right-of-way acquisition. So that's what you see before you as item number 5A. It's the interlocal with the County of El Paso. They will provide up to $2 million for right-of-way acquisitions. We do not think that, so that's what the interlocal is. Then under 5B is very similar to what you normally see in an item like this. We, of course, use Atkins North America as our general engineering consultant team. So under 5B, you see work authorization number 37.1, which would then engage Atkins to assist with that right-of-way acquisition process. So that's everything from acquisition, appraisal, and title services and everything included in those steps. However, one important note is that the county attorney, or I should say the county, has retained, in the instance that any of these parcels need to go to eminent domain, we would deliver the package of the materials developed to date, and the county attorney would pursue eminent domain. So that's a big distinction I should make. So subject to your questions, I would recommend approval of both items 5A and 5B.
Can we take them as one motion?
Yes, sir.
Are there any questions from the members of the board?
No.
I'll move to approve.
It's Jim. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Okay. Motion number 5 passes both items. Item number 6 is discussion and action on board resolutions authorizing the following actions as they relate to the O.T. Smith Hike and Bike Trail Project. Item A, execution of an amendment to the interlocal agreement with El Paso County. And item B, payment of certain construction expenses to Del Mar Contracting Incorporated. Mr. Tejas.
Yes, sir. As a reminder, we are developing, or we are assisting the County of El Paso on this particular project. This is a hike and bike trail in Fabens, Texas, approximately 2.5 miles that connects Alameda to I-10. This particular project was designed by Atkins as our general engineering consultant team, and we are using CEA for the construction engineering and inspection. However, this one's unique in that the county retained the construction activity, so they are managing the construction. They've engaged the construction contractor, and that's really what drives the reason for this particular item. So what you see, well, actually, so let me explain. The reason we're here before you is that the design funds that were provided to the RMA were not fully expended. So there were some leftover funds, approximately $61,000. There are some construction needs that have come up, and we think it's the most efficient if we utilize those design funds in the construction activities. However, the existing interlocal agreement didn't allow for that. And secondly, the RMA, of course, has no relationship with the construction contractor since the county brought them on. So what you see under item 6A is an amendment to the interlocal that would allow for the RMA to utilize those design funds on the construction side. And then under item 6B then is a specific authorization from this board to authorize staff to make payment directly to the county's construction team, which is Del Mar. So subject to your questions, then I would recommend approval of this item as well.
Raymond, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
We have been managing, the RMA has been managing the construction on the majority, I believe, of these projects, almost all of them. Is there a reason that the county decided to do this one themselves? I'm just curious.
Certainly. And we had the same issue. We had the same question early on. Apparently, there was a unique requirement with the funding for this particular program. And I can get you the details if you like in more detail and by email if you're interested. But in essence, the way that the federal funds flow, the project sponsor has to be involved in either the design or the construction. And there was some requirement there that the county was required to go out and do the construction. And we're going to have another one of those coming up before too long as well. But normally we're able to work around them. In this case, we couldn't. So that's the reason that the county had to construct.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Any additional questions from the members of the board?
No.
I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve 6A and B, or are we doing just 6A?
Can we do them together?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
For 6A and B?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 That's all the members. Okay, item 6, both items pass. Let's move on to item 7, which is discussion and action on a board resolution authorizing the execution of change order number 15 for the Zaragoza Port of Entry, Pan American Drive, and Wynn Road Build Improvement Project.
Sir, if I could ask you to read the next item into the record as well, we can take them together.
Okay, item 8 is presentation and discussion on change orders recently approved by the Executive Director for the 2013 El Paso County Comprehensive Mobility Plan, the Fabens Airport Deceleration Lane Project, and the El Paso County Shelters and Sidewalks Project.
Thank you. Each of these items, items 7 and 8, of course, deal with change orders, so we have a single presentation for you. They are unique, though, in that item 7 will require action, and you'll see that at the end of this presentation. This is included as part of your backup as well. As you may recall, there is a board resolution in place from back in 2018 that allows the executive director to authorize change orders up to $100,000. However, if they are under $50,000, then I need to report to the board at the next board meeting. If they are over 50 but under 100,000, then I need to report to the board at the next board meeting, but also send you an email immediately. And then lastly, if they are over $100,000, I have to bring it to the board. So you'll see several of those. So today we have 4 change orders that were approved over the last month and 1 change order that requires board action. So the first items are Pelicano. And so as part of this reporting process, what we do is we show you each of the change orders that we've accrued to date. So you'll see all of those here. You'll see some large negative change orders where we change materials and actually save the project funds. In this case, over the last month, we approved 2 change orders, number 9, where it included adding temporary fencing around a particular pond that was near a school, which was important for $2,295. And then also off-duty sheriffs for traffic control at the cost of $3,700. So those were both approved over this prior month. No action is required on those. Under the Fabens D-Cell Lane project, that's the project highlighted there. We approved a change order number 2, which adds a concrete pad at the request of the County of El Paso, and that was at the cost of $7,900. No action on that one is required. This one is under the county's passenger shelters and sidewalk program, and this is all part of your backup. This change order was adding $94,000 to the project, and what in essence what we're doing here is this particular project, we are in the construction phase. We've hired a construction team, and we've tasked them with securing 5 different bus shelters at this point. This change order adds 4 additional bus shelters. So what we're doing is we're rolling those additional shelters in because the lead time for the shelters is so long. We're going to save some project time by adding these additional 4 by change order. So no action is required on this one. But as you see, it's $94,000, so I had to report it. And you may recall you each received an email on this one once it was approved last week. Now this item is the one from item number 7, and this does require action because it is over 200. Now I'll explain. It's a little bit unique. You may remember this project, Wynn Road. We've been talking about it for quite some time. It is now complete and has been complete for some time. So as part of the project closeout process, we do what's called we refer to it as the cleanup change order. That's where we look at the overruns, the underruns. We identify anything that has come up, any funds that are owed either to us or from us. On the slides, you'll see the prior change orders there, 1 through 14. This final change order is number 15. It is the cleanup. It's a negative change order, which in effect means we will not be spending the entirety of the total project funds that were available for this project. So it's good news. The interesting thing about our resolution is that it doesn't speak to negative change orders. So we always bring the negative change orders, and it's good news anyway. So I think you want to hear that we didn't spend $260,000. So this change order is merely a cleanup, but I will ask for a motion to approve the board resolution as found under item number 7. And subject to your questions, actually, that's all we have for items number 7 and 8, but I would ask for action on number 7.
Any questions of Raymond on this item? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move. This is Joyce.
Jim, I'll second.
We have a motion and a second for item 7. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passes. Let's move on to item number 9, which is presentation and discussion of the following fourth quarter reports for fiscal year 2021. A is the investment report, B is the El Paso Bike Share Sun Cycle Program, and C is the general engineering consultants team use of local resources.
Good morning, Robert Studer, Director of Finance for the RMA. For the record, so these two, the first 2 reports, 9A and 9B, the investment report and the Sun Cycle Program report, were provided to the Finance Committee last week. We spent almost an hour discussing those. Since we've been doing it that way, Ms. Wilson, we've typically not spent time at the board. So if you're okay with it, I'd suggest we just move on. The committee has reviewed those, if that's okay.
I'm fine if the others are fine.
I'm fine.
Okay.
Thank you. On C, we've also typically done that one for notation most recently in the last couple of years, so the same with that one as well.
Any questions on item C by members of the board?
No, I don't.
I don't.
No.
Okay.
Okay, then would you mind reading item 10 into the record?
All right, item 10 is discussion and action on a memorandum of understanding with El Paso Electric Company regarding electric vehicle charging infrastructure initiatives.
Good morning, Robert Suter again for the record. So this is an MOU with El Paso Electric with the RMA. It came about when we reached out to El Paso Electric about sponsoring our bike share program. You may recall in June, we entered into a 3-year agreement where they are sponsoring our bikes. And if you see our bikes riding around town, other than our art bikes, you'll see the El Paso Electric blue on the back of all of the bikes, and then on the stations as well. If you use the app, you'll see their logo. If you use the website, you'll see their logo on there as well, broadcasting the fact that they are our title sponsor. So as we were discussing the bike share program, we ended up talking about mobility just in general, what the RMA does, who we are, that we're involved with the transportation projects in the entire region, and that we can do all different parts of transportation projects. That led to a discussion of modernizing or switching to electric vehicles and electrifying transportation. And from that discussion was born the idea of an MOU, whereas the RMA and El Paso Electric would look to partner on the possibilities of incorporating electric vehicle charging or other electrification of transportation concepts into our projects, both existing and future projects. The MOU is non-binding, but the goal is to help switch us to some electric and follow that path as we go. I drive electric vehicle. I love it. It's the best. So I'm obviously a supporter of this, but if you have any additional questions, we have a couple folks from El Paso Electric here today in case you want to hear from them. But I recommend approval of this as would help potentially add some synergies. If we have a project, we can coordinate with them and help move us towards electric transportation.
Outstanding. Any questions?
Gosh, that's a great opportunity. I really appreciate the effort that you all made to bring this to bear.
We have 2 representatives for El Paso Electric here this morning, I believe. Do we have any questions for them this morning?
This is Jim. Do they have any information on how they would go about this, or a concept plan, or what?
So I think the first thought that we've had, and I'll let them speak if you'd like to hear from them, but the first thought is just, do we have any projects where it makes sense to install electric vehicle charging infrastructure so that users of our facilities or the facilities that we build on behalf of other entities would have electric vehicle charging? As you are aware, we don't build a lot of vertical structures, but it's something that Raymond and I have discussed as we've been looking at future projects. How can we incorporate that potentially into some of our projects? It may happen, it may not, but it's something that we'd like to formalize and at least acknowledge that we're looking in this direction and partnering with El Paso Electric.
Well, since they're here, I'd like to invite them to the podium. Don't be bashful, ladies.
Good morning, Angie Rodriguez, Project Manager of Transportation Electrification Efforts at El Paso Electric. And good morning, Grisela Arispe, Supervisor of the Emerging Technologies and Innovation Department at El Paso Electric. And first of all, thank you for the opportunity. And we've been talking to Robert, and we're very excited about these non-binding MOU that we put together. And like Robert said, the objective is to collaborate in projects in the future, either new construction or any improvements projects that you have on the way. The way that we envision of collaborating together is when we find the opportunity or the need for the charging station infrastructure at one of your projects, El Paso Electric can contribute with make-ready infrastructure, which is infrastructure from the meter to our grid. And we can prepare any upgrades that our grid, our electric grid needs for these particular charging stations. The other scenario is that if we identified a good location that is can be for public use, El Paso Electric will be interested in installing, owning, and operating those charging stations in the event that you would like to take on those responsibilities. So we find that as a good opportunity. Another idea that we would like to explore as well is that EV ride charging program, where we can, and maybe it's new to you, but something that we would like to incorporate. We want to make available electric vehicles for the public, so they can start getting more education, so they can understand how the electric vehicles are. A lot of people may be a little afraid of getting range anxiety, that electric vehicles do not have enough range and they're gonna be stuck in the middle of the road. So we wanna provide the opportunities for people to have access to electric vehicles, and maybe work with the RMA and elaborating something that can be beneficial for everyone in the community, and let Angie talk more about it.
Thank you so much. So our goal is to improve transportation mobility here in our region. We have 1,000 electric cars already in El Paso, and we see that the adoption rate is just going to increase over the next few years. I know Eduardo mentioned earlier infrastructure bill, right? That infrastructure bill has $7.5 billion for electric vehicle infrastructure. And we feel that it's important to find partners when we apply for those funds, when they become available. So we have established a partnership with UTEP, and we'll be presenting to MPO board, as a matter of fact, next week, our ideas on how we can collaborate with CRRMA and UTEP on different electric vehicle charging infrastructure projects and ride-sharing program. So we're looking for more partners to take advantage of those funds. We'll have some funds available from El Paso Electric, and hopefully we can help the city achieve their sustainability goals with this project, because as you know, electric vehicles, they have zero tailpipe emissions, and they're good for our environment and for our customers because they can save money on fuel and maintenance. So we feel very excited about this MOU.
Great news.
This
Thank
is
you.
Jim. I have a comment, and I think this is maybe a great opportunity for the RMA to become a partner in this effort. As you may or may not know, I'm in the east right now in Pennsylvania, and I happen to have been picked up at the Baltimore airport by a relative in an electric vehicle, and it is amazing the network out here in support of the electric vehicle movement, or whatever you might want to call it. But getting charges, rapid charges, long-term charges, and all of that kind of stuff is very easy to do out here. And I was not aware of it before. And if we can be a part of doing something like that for El Paso, I think that might be a neat path for us to go. So Robert, your initiative there and maybe looking at ways for us to get involved, I think that's got some potential.
I have a comment.
Sissy, go ahead.
Sissy Bird, are there any locations that you're currently looking at would be feasible to have this? Also, I think it's a great thing because I'm from the East Coast and they have them everywhere, even on the highways. So I think this is a movement that can benefit El Paso greatly. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We are looking at a couple of locations downtown. For example, we have received a couple of complaints from our residents that there are no charging stations downtown except for Dead Beach Brewery, which doesn't even have a dedicated spot for EV chargers. It's always taken by gasoline vehicles. So we've identified City Hall as one of the locations. Also, we have a location close to Oregon Street. It's on Oregon Street here downtown, close to one co-working space and the library. We also have a meeting with Destination El Paso this afternoon to discuss Convention Center, as a lot of people come in there for conferences, concerts, and the games. We are also working on another project to install fast charging stations along highway corridors because, as you probably know, we only have 2 fast charging station locations in El Paso, one by Rudy's on the west side, and only Tesla vehicles can use it. Any other EV cannot use those, unfortunately. And we have another fast charger on Walmart, at Walmart on the east side, but that's about it. So we're looking at the Texas Welcome Center, we're looking at the West Town Marketplace, malls, UTEP, locations that are close to highways, because that's the best practice, right? To put those fast charging stations within half a mile of the highway. So we're looking at those, and as a matter of fact, there is a grant opportunity that becomes available next month, and we would like to partner with CRRMA and UTEP and other partners here locally and apply for that grant with Texas Commission on Environmental Quality that will have some really good funding for these fast charging stations.
And you're looking at different locations all over El Paso, from the northeast to the west side?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
This is another point. We did an analysis and a projection of when we're going to see an increase of EV adoption in our region, and we see that by 2028 and 2030, when more models become available, we're going to see an inflection point where we're going from 3% right now to maybe close to 30%. So that's why we're so invested on this. We need to have the charging infrastructure ready, because it's not just a matter of new vehicles, new type of vehicles on our roads. It's a revolution in the transportation industry. So we're talking about having the charging infrastructure ready on our roads, because it's not only about I'm charging at home or in my workplace. It's people traveling through our cities, through our county. So it's very important that our region is ready with this type of infrastructure for level 2 DC fast charging stations, and so we also can attract more commercial businesses as well.
Yes, and it's not only about light duty vehicles. We see a lot of interest from our commercial customers that have logistical hubs here in El Paso. As you know, we have a lot of semi trucks here, we have a lot of medium heavy duty vehicles. And some of these companies started to reach out to us and see what we're doing to provide them with charging infrastructure, because they are thinking about electrifying their heavy duty, medium duty vehicles when they become available in the market. So this is coming. We've got to make sure our city is ready for this revolution and transformation.
Thank you for your presentation. It's great, and I really am looking forward to this, because even if a person was considering buying an electric vehicle, the first thing they'll think of, where can I plug it in El Paso? So this is a great thing. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
If you have any questions, just feel free to reach us at any time. We can do a more educational presentation just to your team, where we can provide our projections, type of infrastructure, and what we're doing, what El Paso Electric is doing overall.
Well, it's exciting news, ladies. Thank you for the updates, and thank you for El Paso Electric's leadership to get the ball rolling. And Robert, thank you for taking the initiative. But ladies, it's a very informative presentation this morning. I look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you so much for your
Thank
attention.
you.
Thank you.
I would like to make just a couple more comments, and I will try to keep them to just a couple more, because as Raymond and the gentleman from Atkins can tell you, I'll talk to you all day about electric vehicles if you're not careful. And they're laughing because they've experienced it as well. But Ms. Bird, you're absolutely right. Before most people are willing to buy an electric vehicle, they want to know that there's a place for them to charge it. And so we kind of need to lead with infrastructure first, and then we help convert other people. But that's an important step, and I'm glad that you viewed the problem that way, because that's exactly how many people look at it. So I think that's important. I think that probably is the only comment I'll make for today, other than if you'd like to hear more about electric vehicles, myself, Angie, and Griselle are happy to talk to you about them when you have a minute. With that, if we could have a motion to approve the MOU.
I make the motion to approve it.
Is there a second?
It's Jim, I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you very much. So would you mind reading item 11?
Yeah, because you're on that one too.
Oh, wait a minute. I have a question real quick on
Ms.
that
Bird?
item. Where is the closest to El Paso location where you can plug your vehicle up?
So I have got a charger at home that's a level 2.
Besides home?
So besides home, I believe there's the Tesla supercharger at Rudy's on the west side.
Yes, that's
There's
what she
also
said.
a hotel on the east side at Zaragoza Lee Trevino right off I-10, and it's got a charger, so if someone's driving through, they can stay there overnight. but there's actually a great app called PlugShare, and you can pull up and it can tell you all the different types of chargers, what types of plugs they use, so that depending on what kind of vehicle you have, you know where you can go and charge. But it is something that we need to work on communication more for people that don't know.
Right.
And
That was
luckily,
my
there's
next thing.
people like me that can't wait to tell everyone about it. So.
'Cause that was my next thing is like, if someone was to come here with an electric vehicle, how would they know where they could plug it up? But you answered it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Might
Okay,
get one of those.
item 11 is presentation and update on Sun Cycle's Barrio Bicycle Project.
So this one's also very, very exciting. You may recall we brought this to you back in the spring, asking for approval to apply for the grant. And then we gave a small update last month to let you know that we were having the launch event. But in front of you, for those of you in person, we've got one of the bikes that artist Kristen Apodaca actually painted. It's really amazing, and so we wanted to bring that in. Oh, thank you very much, IT, for bringing that. So anyone looking at home, but this is Kristen Apodaca's work, and if you've seen her mural, it's the size of a wall. It's got to be, I don't know, 15, 20 feet tall and 30, 50 feet wide, and it's fantastic, and she did an amazing job. I don't know how you would describe it, but putting that same art on this bike. Okay, so we're going to run through some background on the program. I gave you a little bit of that already, the details, some photos and video of the program, and then discussion of the press event and media coverage we received, and then the final budget. So one of the goals of the sustainability program for the bike share was to increase ridership, and we talked with SunCycle, the operator, about ideas on how we might be able to do that. They came up with this program of painting some bikes, and in fact, Raymond and I yesterday and today are in B-Cycle World, which is the conference for B-Cycle operators. So we have Trek Bikes makes B-Cycle, and they provide bikes to about 50 bike shares in the country. Those bike shares and the manufacturer get together and we discuss ideas, what's coming down the pipe, and several other bike shares have also done art programs where they've had bikes painted or have had their kiosks painted, their docks painted as well. And so it was cool to be one of those that got recognized during the board meeting or during the conference yesterday as having a great program. So the SunCycle team came up with this idea, help generate awareness of the bikes and bring some eyeballs to it. And so this is an opportunity for us to celebrate the local art and artists while bringing awareness to the program. We picked 7 artists who have murals in Segundo Barrio and asked them to paint the bikes. They did an amazing job. We brought one, but if you have a chance, either click on some of the links in the backup or get out and see some of the bikes. Here are some pictures on the upper left. There you have Kristen again with her mural. You can see the size of her mural. On the right is Bobby Lerma. He actually did a giveaway last week on Instagram with some of his followers. If someone got on his bike and wrote it down to his mural, which is on the side of the Armijo Library, then he was going to give away, I think, a Segundo Barrio custom jacket or something like that. Below them is Los Dos and their mural. And then we've got Simi Alvarado and a couple artists here with their murals in the background, which you can see are amazing murals to begin with. And then we're hoping to bring a little bit more awareness to their murals and their artwork and awareness to our program as well. But they did an amazing job with these bikes. We're going to try and play a video for you.
That was great, Robert.
Well
Thank
done.
you.
That was nice.
So we actually had Barracuda PR help us out, coordination with the artists, and then some photo and video, and they did a fantastic job. They created that logo that you saw there. And then locally, we had Arlene Loya with the Sun Cycle team that designed these masks that we've given to you as well. So we also had a kickoff event that Barracuda helped with and brought down plenty of media to see. But we met at Arts Festival Plaza Station, which you saw there in the shadow of the Camino Real, and met with some of the artists and media, rode down, and then Raymond, artist Simi Alvarado, and I spoke to the assembled media about the program. We ended up getting a lot of great press out of it. KVIA had a web story and a video where they actually showed people how to check out the bike, and there's a QR code on your mask and then on the baskets of the bikes as well, and so people can scan that. It'll give them a route on how to go see the murals, where they're located, kind of like the map on the front of the mask. El Paso Inc. had a photo gallery. Some of those photos I've borrowed from them and used for this presentation. The El Paso Times did a photo gallery and had a video on their webpage. The Herald Post had a web story, and then Telemundo had a web story as well. And so we're really pleased with that media coverage. Here's the final slide, I think, and an update on the project budget. So we took out a grant for $4,300. We ended up providing some additional support to have additional help with the program. So we gave out $500 stipends to each of the 7 artists. We allowed them each up to $100 of art supplies. They didn't use all of that, so we took those savings and used those to go help with the basket decals and then some of the equipment and for the event, having the microphone there. We held the event at Sacred Heart Church. It was fantastic to be there. Simi, who spoke, told us that he got married at that church, and so it's just kind of cool. Several of the artists grew up in Segundo Barrio. We bought the promotional masks. We paid Barracuda PR for project management. And then we had some additional kiosk graphics. So when someone goes to check out a bike, the QR code is also on the kiosk there as well. So it's easy for them to scan it and then find out where to go in case there's not an art bike there with the kiosk or with the QR code. It's always affixed to the kiosk themselves. And so that is our update on the Barrio B-Cycle program. But thank you all for supporting the program.
Well, it's a great update, Harper. It's a really nice program, and to see community coming together, looks like we're going to pick up some momentum on this,
We sure hope so.
which is badly needed, right?
Yes, sir.
I have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
Sissy Bird. I think it's great, and the reason why is because the murals are beautification for our El Paso, because we always need something uplifting like a mural, so visitors that come here can actually see it. So I think it's amazing, and I think it's amazing that you can scan it and go see them. And so I just think this whole bike project is just great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, the day before we applied for the grant, the New York Times actually featured several of the artists and their murals and had a very nice article on their website talking about the significance of the murals in Segundo Barrio. And I see Joe's putting his mask on now.
A mask that actually fits.
These are the most comfortable masks. We've had a couple other made. You will not want to wear any mask other than these. These are the best masks. And so it's nice when we submit our application and then followed up with, by the way, these murals we're hoping to highlight and celebrate were just featured in the New York Times. I hope that helped us receive the funds. But yeah, it was a fantastic program, and I appreciate all your positive comments.
This is Jim. Thank you, Robert.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And that is all I have for you.
Great job. Raymond, is there anything else that we need to handle today?
No, sir, that's all we have for you today.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you all.
Thank you for sharing.
Hope you all are enjoying your trips.
Bye.
It's a good meeting. Thank
Bye.
you.
Would you read the
At
time?
Hey, y'all.
10:15
care.
a.m., the meeting is adjourned.
Thank
Thank you.